What's happening, Metasites? I'm just doing a little bit of hiking through a trail which I've never been on in my life. Back home, there must be a few trails which I've yet to explore. And I have come across something interesting. And there. I don't know if you can see that. So behind me, as you can see, there seems to be some kind of tunnel. Let's just walk in. Take a closer look, shall we? I have no idea what this is. And I'm just gonna go ahead and explore. See what's here. Hello? I have no idea what this is. Some kind of storage or cellar, some kind of makeshift storage area. Looks like some styrofoam and chairs, metal. Kind of abandoned cellar or abandoned warehouse or some kind. I have no idea what they stored in. It seems to be pretty barren. At the end of the trail, this is what I just found. Nothing else. Just styrofoam and garbage. No people squatting here, no graffiti, nothing unusual. It looks like it's just abandoned. All right. I had a couple of ideas that I wanted to share with followers, but I wanted to take this opportunity to dedicate this to the people who are innovative, creative, outside the box type thinkers, people who are, I guess what you call creative geniuses that are outcast and think differently. You know, those outside the box type thinkers, the people who are innovators, and these are people that learn how to code or create programs or learn how to create their own business or brand from scratch, from the bottom up. I've known one or two such individuals, one of whom lives here locally still. I believe he's still living here in this part of town. Some people in this town, they don't want to leave, so I would imagine he would still be here. Anyway, he had a couple of businesses going on. I'm not going to tell you his name, but he was actually establishing a business in the heart of downtown, which he had going on for him. He actually made this business to become successful. He made some nice money. He was successful and good at it. He created a service and a product which people wanted, which in this case, it happened to be vapors, Now, I don't vape, but a few people do. And here's what I'm trying to get at. This is where it gets interesting. While he had that freedom, okay, he had the freedom to build his business from the ground up. He started his business through a couple of friends. I guess he had to do business with a company selling a product which wasn't his, but he made, I guess, a return investment of some kind. I imagine he did. While he was there working as his own boss, okay, he was working at his own time, he was working at his own schedule. He had freedom to wake up in the morning and go to work, and he was good at it. He talked to people, and the run of his day, he probably did sell some vaporizers, and I think he did pretty well in that department. He had a website, he had business cards, he kept his place clean, and a very comfortable environment where his customers can come in. It was very modern, but here's where I'm making my point. In his spare time, when he had nothing else to do, when he was doing that, he also had another side hustle. He was ahead of the game. This was back 10 years ago, okay? Back in the 2012, 2013, he was not only selling vaporizers, but he also was selling his services, fixing phones, and that's not all. He was smart enough to take his spare time and use it wisely. While other people were playing games, he knew how to code and develop and design a game or an app, I guess, which at the time, C++ and coding, only a few people learned how to do that, but that was a skill which was not very common. And if it was learnable, you know, even back when in the 2000s, the late 2000s, he developed an attribute skill set in that department. Not only did he become an entrepreneur, he was also a sole proprietor, and he started a successful side hustle business, fixing phones, which was a demand service which people wanted. And also he was really working around the clock trying to develop on his craft. So he had three hustles. He had selling a product, vaporizers, as his primary job, as his own boss. Secondary, he had a side business fixing phones, so that was two services which, you know, he had at his business, his own private store. And his third hustle, during his own hours, he was able to have the freedom to create anything that he wanted with the skills that he learned from years ago. So he was pretty smart. He was ahead of the curve. He had not only a business going, he had a vision. Not everybody has a vision past what their 9 to 5 primary job is. Most people, okay, mainly my dad and my mother, they had one job, and that job was to build on their skill, which they went to school for. They had one job, their one profession. My mother was a nurse. My dad, he had one job, directing air traffic. Now, that was really good. They were good at what they did. People thought that they were great at what they were doing. But I must say, that was only one skilled job which they were paid a hefty sum of money, which did give them a good return investment. They brought their own house over the course of 25 years. They managed to make a very good living working these full-time jobs, which were very respectable and in high demand. Most people today, they're working their whole lives trying to get that degree or that finish school to get that profession, that one profession. What has happened these days, people are investing a larger and larger sums of money towards one skill. Just one. Not 2 or 3 different skills like A, B, and C. Most people today have it beaten into their minds, like beaten into their heads, that you go to school to learn one profession, and that's it. Most people today, they believe, especially the boomer generation, this past generation was taught that if you go to school to learn one profession, one respectable trade, whether it's being a mechanic or becoming a doctor or a person, man or woman of law, or providing a service or a product which people want, they're either going to end up in a business where they're going to be hustling to do one job. Usually. That's not always the case, however. In the case of my friend who had the opportunity in his youth to take his knowledge and his experience and turn it into something. And it's rare, but he worked hard learning. He did not stop learning once he had a trade, even if it was just something as simple as retail, as selling a product, which most people today seem that that's all they're ever going to be doing. If that's how most people believe that that's where they are at right now, today, there's more that people can do in their spare time. If people did what my friend had did, learning and never stop learning, if they continue to excel in the skills that have been given to them. Okay? I wasn't planning on talking about scripture, but there's a piece of wisdom in the Bible which I thought that this would be good to share. Parable of the talents. And that means that I'm going to paraphrase. Okay? When you develop on your skills, whatever that may be, he who has a couple of talents will eventually earn more. I know that sounds a little strange and difficult to comprehend. People are going to ask me, what's he talking about? If he has one skill, how can he develop more? I thought that if you only focused on one skill, that was it. Not true. People have the ability to learn new things as they're growing. Even if they grow into adulthood as opposed to when they're young. I know that the opportunities may not always be there when you reach adulthood. You're going to be facing challenges that you probably have not had in your youth, such as housing,